this video, I want to give you a few tips on how to smooth out your stroke and increase the smoothness. First of all, I want you to look at where your feet are and make sure you're in a nice, comfortable position. Two mistakes I see people do is having too closed of a stance. And what happens if I have my stance too closed, or kind of like an archery stance, if I was shooting like a bow and arrow, would be that I have to bend and bend again. I have to bend two ways, and I end up twisted up. The other extreme is a snooker stance. And if I'm too open, now once again I have to bend, and I'm bending two different ways. So if I end up somewhere in the middle, I can sit there and bend down, and I'll be in a nice smooth spot where all I have to do is bend forward, and there's not as much twisting. And reducing those twists and tension in my body will allow me to have a much smoother stroke. You can review my video on stance if you want to see more information on that. The second tip I want to give you, as far as increasing the fluidity of your stroke, has to do with how high your head is. For a lot of people, we're not flexible enough to get down and have your chin actually drag on your cue. So if I try to drag my chin on my cue, I can barely see up in front of the cue ball, much less see the object ball and the target that I've got. The other thing that happens is if I'm dragging down that low, I really got to hold my elbow up behind me. So you can kind of see, if I go all the way down here, I can barely see the cue ball right now, and I certainly can't see my target. And then in order to be able to really stroke, I have to have my elbow up above my back, which puts a lot more stress here. If I come up a little bit and just get myself in a nice comfortable position, now I can see the ball, I can see the pocket, I can see the cue ball, and notice that my arm is in a much more natural position where my upper arm is pretty much even with my body. So I still have plenty of room right here. I have the ability to swing nice and natural and relaxed. So try coming up a little bit. You can still see well. You're going to be able to get a better stroke off of that. My third tip with regards to getting a smoother stroke, I actually covered in one of my quick tips, and it has to do with follow through. And if you're practicing, or if you're doing a bunch of practice strokes, you tend to be practicing poking. So you don't necessarily want to be like practicing stopping. We want to hit right through the ball. So if you eliminate those practice strokes, or at least when you're practicing follow through and practicing getting a smooth stroke, now when I actually do my stroke, I'm just hitting right through the ball, and it's one constant motion, and I'm working on a smooth stroke. My fourth and last point with trying to get a smooth stroke, and once again it has to go back to being nice and comfortable and smooth and releasing tension from your body. I see a lot of people who get in a position, and what they want to do is end up crouching too much. So instead of just bending naturally and being in a nice, smooth, comfortable position, what you see people doing is doing this, where they're putting a lot of tension and doing a squat. Now, that might be fine if you're just doing it for a little bit for fun or whatever, and you're playing a little bit just casually. But over time, you're going to get tired, and you're putting a lot more tension in your body, a lot more exertion, which is going to take away the ability for a nice, smooth stroke. So hopefully with these tips, you can smooth out your stroke, have a nice, smooth stroke, be able to get whatever action you want on the ball. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.